special guest, Speaker Andy Tobin. Andy's running for CD1 Congress. He's the Republican nominee. Speaker Tobin, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Bruce. Good to be here. I appreciate it very much.
Where are you calling from right now?
Well, actually, I got up to Yavapai County last night, so you've got me calling from Tobin, Arizona.
All right, that's great. You had a distinct job to do that I'd like you to tell the folks about. I understand that you gave the Republican message this morning.
I did. I was very lucky. We're watching this, this attack on business owners, small business. We're watching this attack on coal. And it continues to hamper, especially rural Arizona. And so I got a call from the speaker, and he says, "You've been right in the middle of this fight. You've been in the middle of the fight when, the recession was at its peak, and what government had to do to bring it back. You've been at the table the whole time, and maybe you can share your thoughts on how to get out of it." And I was like, of course, then I got up off the floor. I said, "Well, thank you," so it was my honor to be able to speak nationwide, and with the Republican address today, I got to speak from Picacho Peak, and we're working on those switchbacks over there. There's some great opportunity in all of these counties, and it's funny because people say, "Well, are you actually in my district?" And when you kind of total it up, we've got 11 of Arizona's 15 counties. So if you're not in our district, you're probably close by somewhere. But it was a great opportunity. And I think you also saw that on top of Navajo Generating Station being pounded by the EPA and starting to shut 1/3 of that down, just 2 days ago, the EPA pulled out their bags of tricks again and talked about what are we doing at Coronado. And sure enough, they make it so incredibly difficult to operate at any efficiency at all that they're going to shut down now 1/3 of Coronado, which is a coal-fired plant on I-40. Many folks who may have driven I-40 on their way to New Mexico from Flagstaff or even from New Mexico across our beautiful state up there may have seen it when they drove past the Winslow area. And it's a lot of jobs. It's coal power. It's good power. It's American power. It's in many cases, it's our Native American community, certainly Cayente. This coal doesn't come from Cayente, but it comes from New Mexico. But these are Arizona jobs. I mean, it's just hard to realize that as difficult as things are, especially for us working class folks, that the federal government continues to have time with the never-ending, ongoing crisis that they create themselves every week, to just continue to harm generations of families who have mined here or have worked in these energy facilities. And, I don't know who they think's paying the cost for, paying the property taxes for our schools and our infrastructure there. But go up to Coronado, those people will tell you who they are.
Speaker Tobin, your district includes a fair amount of people in northern Pima County, in Pinal County, in Graham County, where this signal reaches out to. Specifically, what will those changes that have been imposed by the EPA, what will they mean to regular people, just, regular wage earners and homeowners all across the state?
Well, it's that plus its investment. So the first thing it is the ongoing increase in cost of what it will be for our energy power and water power. Certainly Navajo Generating Station, which pumps the water out of the Colorado into the Central Arizona project. Now you have, here in Coronado, it's continuing. The coal is a very inexpensive form of energy. They're giving them, I don't know how many years, I lost track of that press release, to get natural gas into this facility because they're going to have to shut down all coal according to this new agreement that APS has worked out only because they had a $300 million bill staring them in the face to retrofit the entire facility. So it is those dollars and those jobs come directly out of and it's not just Winslow, it's not just Joseph City, it's the entire northeastern part of our state, but it will impact all ratepayers because as we start moving towards more cost to get other power sources in and start getting rid of this cheaper power, this coal power that we've been using for decades, And by the way, selling it, so it's going to go somewhere else. I'm going to help the Navajo try to find buyers for this in other buyers of coal. It's going to go somewhere else, so it's not like coal is not going to be used on this planet. And, I mean, that's absurd. So here it is once again, as we're struggling to get better, as we're struggling to come back, we continue to have the Obama administration declare war on industry that hires people. Jobs are tough enough to come by in rural Arizona. Having as one of his top priorities, the Kirkpatrick EPA decide that they're going to cut more out of energy sources in rural Arizona.
In her district. In her district, for crying out loud.
Yeah, well, you started at we got Superior Mine that she purports to support, but Harry Reid, her Democrat president of the Senate, will not move that bill out. You have, Navajo Generating Station. Now you have Coronado, for heaven's sake. So where's the next one? Do we go to St. John's? Where do we go next with these things? So clearly this attack on coal will impact Arizona, certainly CD1 with jobs. And now, Bruce, I ask you, you've been involved in investments all your life. So if you're thinking for a minute that, hey, you might want to expand a business in the Winslow, Joseph City area or in the Page area, and you're not certain about what the cost for power will be there, or if in fact that plant will even be there in the future, most people are not going to say, yes, I'm going to write a check and see and take my risk on my money, not knowing what that future will be, or if there's much left of these plants at all, and then what the power costs will be. So it inhibits capital investment in places that we need it the most in Arizona, and because they're so out of touch, and Congresswoman Kirkpatrick is so out of touch to be in a position where you can help. We closed down the Grand Canyon, for heaven's sakes, closed down the the tourism industry during her tenure, and we got Mr. Grijalva out there thinking that boycotting Arizona is a good idea. I never hear Congresswoman Kirkpatrick say, he's crazy. But here it is. These are pure Arizona jobs in Arizona communities, in Arizona rural communities. And by the time you start taking tourism and water and power and mining, what's next? What's next? So it just seems to me like they have gone off the deep end, and this is certainly not a way to unite a country or bring a country back.
Speaker Tobin, this is Emil Francie. You probably are aware that I was a Gary Keeney supporter early and strong, and I want to let everybody know that's part of my audience that knows that, however many that is that pay attention, that I have absolutely no problem supporting you all the way for that seat, and I will do whatever I can. I live in that district to get you elected. Yeah. I think you'll make a fine congressman, sir.
Thank you, sir. Well, you know what I'm talking about. When you in rural Arizona, like a dear friend of mine, and this is at the top of the of our economic crisis in Arizona. You leave your towns. You don't walk across the street looking for the next job. There are none. But businesses close when recessions hit in the way they did here. Businesses close and just stop when all of a sudden capital investment doesn't come our way. And that's what's happened in rural Arizona. We have a disproportionate share of the unemployment rates. We have a higher cost of transportation and services as well. And yet, when it comes time to, who does the EPA or Kirkpatrick EPA have to hit next? It's always rural Arizona. And it's just amazing thing. So.
Well, it's also the way they do that double shuffle with Kirkpatrick. They do the same thing over here with Barber too, and that's let them vote for something that's ultimately meaningless and they know it, and then they can claim something else. Okay.
Yep.
And you got to be whomping her on that because she's got a big war chest and she'll need it. She's obviously got beat once and barely scooted back in last time, and I think this looks like a better year from where we're all sitting. So, hey,
well,
good luck again. Good luck to you, sir, and anybody listening to this. I support Speaker Tobin and CD1 all the way.
Well, thanks for all that help. There's certainly a lot at risk, but this is about I was asked a question the other day. What do you think you'll bring back from Washington if you get elected? And I merely answered pride I mean, really,
Yeah.
That somebody will actually fight for rural Arizona. I hope to bring back pride in that. These are, who these people are here. Yeah, I mean, this is people of the land. We're hard workers. My district, my legislative district includes Yarnell, where we had a big fire a year ago. You know what those people said when the president flew off and didn't help and didn't declare a disaster area? Perfect for rural Arizona. They said, that's okay. We have a lot of friends in Arizona. We'll pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We'll take care of this ourselves.
Well,
and, if that doesn't tell you who rural Arizona is, I don't know what does.
You know why? Because they also know something else, that before you can have pride, you also have to have shame. And the Democrats, my friend, are shameless.
Well, I can hardly get into the tax on our veterans, and along the way, if Republicans had a president doing this, we'd have had them out of office, before re-election time. That's for sure.
Speaker Tobin, we're gonna take a real quick break. We're gonna come back with you, and let's talk first about what you bring to this job, having served in the Arizona State House of Representatives and having served as Speaker of the House. So when we come back with Speaker Andy Tobin, the Republican nominee for Congressional District 1 in Arizona, stay tuned to Inside Track.
Inside Track will be right back. And now back to Inside Track.
Welcome back to Inside Track. Emil Franzi, along with me, Bruce Ash, and we're speaking with Andy Tobin, nominee for Congressional District 1 in Arizona. Speaker Andy Tobin, you have been a leader in the Arizona House of Representatives. You did a lot of stuff before you ever got to the House. I mean, some terrific organizational volunteer work that you did for decades. But you come to this job, if you're elected in November, as we hope you will be. What are you able to do from the second you hit the ground in January, really in November, when you go there for your orientation? What are the skills that you bring? What are the experiences that you bring that'll make you successful at this job for your constituents?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that, Bruce. For some reason, I think the good Lord puts me in the middle of a lot of catastrophes that are out there, and so I think I have experience with them. I was in the savings and loan business when the savings and loan business was breaking up, so I was involved in that changeover from then. And certainly I was in the nonprofit volunteer, as president of the United States JCs, when volunteerism was at a low point in our country, and still raising money for charities, talking about the issues of the day and what's important to America. The insurance business, still am in the insurance business. I was in the aerospace business as the CEO of a 200-employee company, when 9/11 hit. Then times.
Speaker, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
Had a conversation with the community leaders, small business folks. What is it we have to do together? Build a team together. And what we realized that we had to do is the very first thing, and I hope this is something that we can get Washington to look at, certainly nothing extreme about what Arizona did, moratorium on regulation. Can't we just stop? Can't we just stop for a couple of years? Just say, let's just stop regulating. Let's just stop coming up with new business regulations. Let's start talking about how can we advance in our businesses that are out there, give them a chance to breathe a little bit. We did that in Arizona, and I don't think anybody saw a difference. I think the only one that saw the difference was the small business communities who were able to move forward, knowing that more paperwork, knowing that more regulation wasn't coming down on them. It was a great relief. So I think that's a good starting point where we can take something like that, a moratorium on regulation, a new regulation, so we can move forward and see what it is that our business community can do without more government stepping on top of them.
Andy,
then I think we have,
Andy, can you talk about how you helped make that happen in Arizona? What prompted it, and how did you put that coalition together?
Yeah, we actually drafted a bill, a regulatory moratorium for the governor's signature. Jan Brewer was so incredibly anxious to get it. She didn't, basically she vetoed it so she could make an executive order so it would become effective immediately. So that's the story about how that moratorium got started. Absolutely all Republicans were on board. I don't think we got a single Democrat that voted for that legislation. But, I mean, it was, we're looking at it saying we're a 100-year state almost at the time. We said, you think we withstand not doing more regulation over the next couple of years? And just amazing how it all worked out. I think Treasurer Duke talked about that in his governor's campaign as well, that, hey, why don't we just give people a break and stop having, keep falling back on, we have to have another rule, we have to have another law. And this is the problem we have today with this runaway EPA. I mean, they clearly they have over the years been giving authority that, and most lawmakers who set regulation, they do give some authority, so that you don't micromanage these groups. But clearly, the Kirkpatrick EPA has taken it to a next level. They're an entity of themselves. The Supreme Court said they had authority just a few weeks ago to do what they were doing, and they do. And so I think that that's a starting point. We have to be able to peel back the power of these bureaucrats who are just crushing, jobs, not just here in Arizona, but all across the country. That's why the U.S. Senate now is going to turn to the Republicans, because they see what's going on, and they're like, hey, wait a second. You have places all across the country, from whether it be Keystone Pipeline to, coal again in West Virginia, Kentucky. I mean, look at these states who are talking about, hey, we're trying to survive, and you're cutting jobs from here too. A lot of these happen to be Democrats who have supported this, their party for many years, and are trying to figure out what's wrong with our clean coal. My grandfather, my father, we all mined here. So I think that that's a great start. And after we got done with that, Bruce, we started finding out what is the real story here. What is the cost of government? How are we going to get there? And you guys know I took a lot of heat over this, and we had to start cutting back government.
Does the EPA? How did the EPA end up with a SWAT team?
Does the EPA have a SWAT team?
Yes. I wanted, does the Library of Congress have a SWAT team? I mean, that billion rounds of ammo, everybody was wondering what they were going to do. Well, they've got so many guys out there now on SWAT teams for every agency of the federal government, the IRS, all these people, that I guess they needed to arm them, apparently. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling that the EPA would have a SWAT team.
Well, I just have to tell you, I've never seen, growing up, I never looked at government, our federal government. I looked at our leaders as, hey, these are good people. They're trying. I know there's problems, but I never thought for a minute that the government would be the enemy in this case. Whether you're having them watch over emails or destroy emails or what, there was always this sense like, okay, well, a lot of folks who work for the government are your neighbors and stuff. But now it's just starting to seem like we're being overrun. Ever-growing government.
No, I can't afford to live in the neighborhood where many of the government employees now live.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of, but the truth is we have some incredible government employees who do great work. But I mean, the expansion of this what government bureaucrats are doing in our country right now, without real opportunity for oversight, is almost unbearable. So I would hope that we get a start on just putting a stop on what this country's been doing to our small business owners, our working class, and start heading down that direction of, okay, let's trust the people who are out there, working in the private sector every day, instead of let's manage that. And we all know you can't manage free, hardworking people. We know that that's not a recipe for improving our country going forward.
Andy, we have about 3 minutes left in this segment, and I want to get to something that is of critical importance to people in the First District, and that is creation of capital and debt, and the problems that we have with banks and with the ability to borrow money, whether it's farmers and ranchers or small businessmen in the district.
Great. Well, we can kind of jump on that now. I remember in 1988, I was working with President Ronald Reagan because we were also appalled that we had billions of dollars in debt, and we were trying to pass a balanced budget amendment back then. You may have seen my video with him.
I did.
Right now, the Arizona is spending $1 million a day on our own debt. So when we talk about where's all our money going, so I mean, look at the answer. As we're trying to make sure jobs come back, and we're trying to make sure folks get off the government dole. For every 1,000 jobs that we create or are created by the private sector, you're going to see $1 million in government revenue through taxes. And for every 1,000 jobs that are created, those are the 1,000 people that aren't on government. That saves us $1 million per 1,000. So do the math. We lose 300,000 jobs that cost the state $300 million. Now they're on government programs that cost us $300 million, and we're spending $350 million on debt alone. That's $1 billion, gentlemen, in 1 year for the state of Arizona. That's an awful lot of money. That solves an awful lot of problems. And we have not recovered back to 300,000 jobs. I think we're at about 170, I think is where we are right now. So we're almost two-thirds back, but we'd be a lot closer to that goal if we didn't have the federal government stepping on our throat, whether it be with our energy or not letting us move forward with our mining capability, or, by the way, not taking care of our forests, where maybe we could be selling some of this timber and having our ranchers manage this land better than obviously the federal government could, instead of burning the wood. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to improve our financial position here just by making some of these simple choices, which are making Arizona more competitive in the marketplace, which we've now done for the last 6 years. Arizona is now looked at as the number one place in the next decade by Forbes magazine to grow jobs. Number one, not 5th, 10th, 15th. Number one. That's over Texas, Nevada, nobody's surprised California. But I mean, that's pretty incredible to a state that 6 years ago we weren't sure we were going to have payroll. So I think, and that talks specifically, Bruce, to capital investment. When people see that this is the place to go, where this is the place where people can have an affordable home, where this is the place where people can raise their families well.
Andy, we're down to 30 seconds. Tell everybody how they can go to your website and how they can contribute to your campaign.
Oh, great. Thanks, Bruce. We're at andytobin.com. So you can go there and you can see some of our videos. There's certainly a place to contribute. We'd love to hear from you. We want to get people to the polls. We want to get people to register to vote in a hurry if they haven't. Remember, your neighbor may be just as angry as you are, but they may not be registered where they're at. They may have moved here from out of state. Let's ask them, say, are you ready to go to the polls? Are you ready to vote for something different? And I think a lot of those people will say yes. And in this district, the Republicans are not the majority party, so we need all the help we can from our independent friends. And by the way, a lot of our Democrat friends who have endorsed me and are out there working for us, it is not the party that my grandfather was a member of. It is the party now of these extremists who are out there trying to change our party or change our nation fundamentally. This president said it when he got inaugurated. We all know it to be true. We didn't build this; he did. And I think that folks are very sick of that, and they're very upset with Ann Kirkpatrick for having voted to cut Medicare, having voted to keep our veterans' memorials closed. Who would have thought when we grew up that would ever have happened?
Andy Tobin, we got to go. Thanks very much for joining us on Inside Track. We're going to go listen